So this time we are talking about quite a niche area of turntable technique. This is beat juggling, and you'll basically pretty much never see a DJ beat juggling with a band. The reason for this is that beat juggle routines are actually really difficult to execute with complete rhythmic precision. There's a very good technical reason for this. I wrote about this in my PhD commentary, but if you're not one of the 6 people who's read that, I'll go over it again. When we do a beat juggle routine, there's actually an extra layer of precision that's needed in order to make it rhythmically tight. So you make the physical gesture, and you can make that gesture completely in time, but you also have to have the record, when you cut it in, at exactly the right place. So for example, if you've pulled the record back just a touch too far and you still cut it in completely on time, the beat that you hear is going to be a fraction late because of where the record was located in space. So it's a little bit like if you were playing the drums and you had to hit the exact center of every drum skin in order for the hit to sound like it was in time. So it's a really difficult thing to be precise with. And even at the, at a very high level, beat juggle routines tend to have this kind of rhythmic looseness about them. It is absolutely an achievable standard to be, clinically tight with your beat juggles. When you watch Kirik, for example, beat juggling together, they're completely synchronized, just perfectly in time together. So we can get there, but it's a rare level of skill that brings that level of precision to beat juggling. Like I say, even at the highest level, there tends to be this kind of rhythmic looseness about it, which is completely fine as part of a solo performance, but becomes really messy really quickly if you're trying to integrate it into a band or into a group performance. So back in the day when I was playing the Civil Unrest techno show in the early 2000s, in those days, I was a little bit more of a beat juggle specialist than a scratch specialist. So I still wanted to integrate this area of my technique into what I was doing with the live techno show. So there are a couple of ways that I came up with to get around this. So here's a sound, for example. This is a smooth glissando on a synth. It just sounds like this. So if I perform a beat juggle routine with this as my source material, now the source material has no rhythmic element to it. So the only rhythmic articulations you're going to hear are going to be the cuts and the gestures of my beat juggle technique. So it just removes this extra layer of precision that is needed the majority of the time that we perform a beat juggle. So I'll give you an idea of what that might sound like to a techno beat, and I've also kind of smoothed the articulations here with a little bit of reverb on the DJM S11, so it sounds more like this. So let's have a look at that. Let's have a look at what that might sound like. So that's the beat juggle with the smooth glissando. There are a number of other different ways that you could take this idea. So for example, instead of a glissando, imagine that you maybe had a synth that was stepping to a different note, maybe once every half revolution of the record or something. You could then start to experiment with playing a melody with your juggle patterns. I've also experimented with beat juggling a synth line and with beat juggling rap a cappellas as part of the Civil Unrest techno show. With those kind of source materials, they are rhythmic, so you need to be pretty tight in order for it to not sound messy, but at the same time they're the kind of sound that is just slightly more forgiving than a drum break in terms of the rhythmic element. So it makes it just slightly more accessible to apply your beat juggle techniques to something like a synth line or an a cappella, for example. So it's a fairly limited idea in terms of developing a sound within a group setting. I still occasionally use it if I'm playing a techno show. But even though it is fairly limited, it's another way that we can bring like an idiomatic, turntablistic method of developing a sound that provides a little bit of variety from just the scratch technique side of things. So on the next episode, we're going to come right back up to date with a track that I currently perform in my band Klonk. And in this part, you'll see how I've repurposed the techniques of beat matching and mixing within the band setting to do something slightly different from the way we'd normally use that technique. So I'll see you on the next video. Thanks.